Well, welcome to everyone who's watching. I am the Theapershadow, and this is the best way I could think to record this. I've been thinking about this for a very, very long time, and I have a theory, and it's really cool. So, no, that sounded really weird. Anyway, first, to tell you this theory, I would like to tell you who I am as a person. Um, I tend to stutter and slur, and I apologize for that. I'm actually a medically retired veteran. And while I was overseas, I hit my head pretty hard. And so it makes it hard sometimes. Life for me was not easy growing up, like it is for most people. We all go through hard times. But at this point in my life where I'm at, I can say that I am a good person. I have negative thoughts at times. We all have bad thoughts. But I managed to push through them. Sometimes they got the better of me. And in the result, I lost my family in divorce. My kids, they live 3 states away. I never wanted them to move, but because of the system, I lost them. I tried to use the law and lost. Now I am lucky to see them a couple times a year. Haven't seen them in over a year since COVID. I can't find a lawyer to help me fight back against them. Medically retired from the military, and I can't afford to get a lawyer to help fight to see my kids. But I persevere. And it started me down this path of thinking. I started looking into the science. Now, in school, I was never really that good. I was left behind in the system. I came from Scotland when I was about 6. We were a military family, so we jumped around a lot. Different teachers, different ways of teaching, more classes, more kids. I couldn't keep up. So when I got to the States, they set me back a grade, and then they put me into special ed classes because I didn't know math. Every subject except for math I excelled in. When I got to middle school, at the end of middle school, they said I was doing so good in all the special ed classes, they took me out and put me in regular classes in high school. There is a 3-year gap between the two. I was learning fractions, and then it was straight into algebra 1. I didn't know the difference. I didn't know the equations to keep up with it. First year of high school, I failed because of math alone. Everything else, aced. I had to drop out, get my GED. But I still wanted to join the military, so I ended up joining the military. That was my goal. I persevere. In college, I went to college. I was acing all my things but math. I could barely even get through the door, and I stopped. But I could probably keep going. I tried to use my math as an advantage and a disadvantage. So I may not be able to add 1 plus a million, kind of stuff. But I can see things happening in a different light. I'm an artist. There are some people that can see shapes and put them together really, really good. And there are some people that can do equations really, really well. There are some people that can see patterns really, really well. I am one of those people. Some people can create art out of nothing, and it would be a beautiful canvas. I'm not quite creating art out of nothing, but I'm using what I'm seeing every day and hearing every day and reading every day to back up what I think is possible. So my theory is that energy is time. We are energy. How do I back that up? Go all the way down to what it would look like, down to the smallest possible level. Now, when I keep looking at things like Big Bangs, for an example, scientists have seen these two little spin dots in the middle of them. Same occurrence happened when neutron stars go off. You see like a shock wave go out and the same spin circle goes off. I believe I can explain all this in this theory and a lot more. So if you keep following this pattern down over and over again, spinny circle, spinny circle, spinny circle, spinny circle, you start to have two two sides kind of look like hurricanes. Best way of putting it. One left, one on the right. Energy being pulled in. This energy is pulling all mass in and going to the center. What's happening here during the Big Bang is the explosion is going outwards with all the gathered mass from where it exploded before. I'll show you how that's possible here in a minute. When this mass explodes outwards, it's going to cool down. Well, in this energy, if you go all the way down, it's the same thing. It's two little spinning things, right? They're coming all the way down, pulling everything inside from all sides as they swirl all the way to the center. When they get down to the center, they explode straight outwards. These are two positively charged. We'll say that for example. And what I mean by positively charged is the way that they travel. So coming from one direction, one would look like it would travel clockwise. But if you flip it, it looks like it going counterclockwise. But in fact, they're both spinning in the same direction towards the center. So they're being attracted to each other. How this is possible is if you break those two down, it's the same thing happening within those two. It's just straight energy spinning in circles all the way down to its smallest form. And it goes all the way out into nothing. Like, so that would be your negatively charged energy, because as soon as it goes all the way out into the outer edges, it has nowhere to go. starts pulling back in on itself. All this energy is highly magnetized. Starts to get mass on top of itself at the coolest areas. The main burst of the energy starts to collapse in. When it starts to collapse in, it starts to create a shell again. So to us, these could be galaxies, solar systems, planets. It all works the same way. It's all connected. All the energy reaches all the way out. When it gathers mass, it starts to swirl these things back in again. Things start to cool down. The way that this would look as it starts to being pulled back in, same swirling effect as it went out. When mass starts to gather and energy starts to cool, time starts to happen. It's on the cooling process that time happens. Because when time's going out, it happens in a blink of an eye. As soon as mass starts to gather, that blink of the eye stops. From there, the smaller it gets, the slower time seems to go. Or the faster. It works either direction. For an example, say you had a Big Bang number 1 here to your left, which is about a foot long. Well, I know long is like a weird way to put it. It's not dimensions, you know. It just it's small, a foot. Next to it, you have Big Bang number 2 happening, which is probably about 10 feet. So on, so on, so on, so on, so on, chain reaction all the way around. If this is going in a complete circle and spiraling outwards, you'll get what we look like now in our universe. You can see this energy moving. You can almost see like the flash of the energy. It looks like forked lightning. So it's energy reaching out. You can see it reaching out like forked lightning all the way down to the edge of its tips, which support this. So let's go back, right? If you were to do the same thing on the cool down process of planets, right? Let's break it all the way down to the planets. Energy goes out, explodes all the way out. So you got going down to the smallest little suns. Energy starts to gather around. You create known galaxies around the edges where all the energy is, right? Where all the mass is starting to gather again, starting to cool, right at the end. Starts being pulled back in. That's your mixture of elements. All the elements that were there in that particular Big Bang. The more Big Bangs happen, the more mixture of elements, the cooler. The more energy, the greater the mass being pulled back in on top of itself. E equals mc squared. The more energy there, the greater the explosion. So if you have something that has equals amounts of energy and equals amounts of mass, you can create or close to a planet. The more energy, it's more like a lot of atoms, for example. So the more mixture of atoms, the more mixture of
Be attractive. Good feet.
molecules, and more mixture of molecules, everything builds up. You can see where it goes from there, and I can explain that as well. But you get the idea. So with us, the way that this could be proven at this point is we will start at our area. If we're on the collapse and time starts on the collapse, we would start to see more and more black holes. We would be able to witness more and more black holes because we're being pulled to the center of our what do you call it, black hole itself. It's swirling. Everything is swirling around, right? This would create a tilt in our galaxy as we're being pulled down. Our galaxy is at a tilt towards the black center of our black hole, as it's confirmed in scientists. I mean, you can look this stuff up too. Um, I just Googled most of this stuff and fact checked the rest with theories of Einstein and Hawkins and Newton. So anyway, the Hawkins. So the black holes, as they're swirling in towards the center, right? What's this doing? It's gathering mass, right? All that collective mass in that galaxy and everything like that together into towards the center, still spiraling down. Now, when it gets close to the bottom of the black hole, there's a lot of different theories of what's going on there, right? Well, if all of this is connected together, all the energy, so all the negative energy is being pulled towards something, or being gathered again, right? The black holes will start to appear more in those galaxies, like I said. That explains the collapse in galaxy gathering mass. The mass, the way it's gathered is go all the way to the edges of those energies where the positive completely stops and the negative is just on the outside. And like I said, the negative energy, all it is spinning in the opposite direction. It's gathering the outsides of the black holes. So if you go all the way out to the edges of the black holes, it gathers the mass. It starts to spin the opposite direction from there. Because it's being pulled back in. So when it's being pulled back in, it's creating its own black hole. To us, it would look pretty much like a reflective lens. So we would see like a mirror image. The mirror image you're seeing is not necessarily what you think you're seeing. It's not a planet. With all that metal mixture in there, it's a glimpse of what's out there. We're seeing that bigger image of continued on where the galaxy is. Those planets cooling down, everything else out there. You're seeing a lot of flame mixture and everything in the center of the black hole mixture as well. You're seeing the swirl effect from that. So when it gets to the center, and all that energy is collected, the more energy collected in the area it gathers, it creates a blast. Energy's got to go somewhere, right? So where that energy goes is back into the original area, and then it goes further up, and then goes out at the most easiest path. So if the energy before that already made a path, further up, it's going to go up and go out right there again. And then gather what it can and come back in again. And go out somewhere else and gather what it can and come back in again. This is force lightning. You can see that's what it does. If you slowed it down and took snapshots of it, you can see just go out, go out, go out, go out, and then stop. Our energy is gathered between our Earths, right? So if you've got the outer layer, the crust, everything like that is negative energy. That's mass being pulled in. The positive energy would be air. Everything in between the ground and where mass starts to gather again. You know, the clouds and the coldness up there, because everything else is positive energy. It's heat source. When the sun is shining on us, it creates more heat. Think of being like in a bubble itself. It's creating more heat within there. Um, it is it's kind of what we're being charged by. It's how we spin. I'll explain that in a minute. So, when the energy starts being pulled back, the everything starts to cool down. The sun starts to the energy on that last little thing that's where all the mass gathers starts to cool down on top of where the sun is, um, or what cools down on top of what's called a I'm trying to think of it, singularity. All the mass gathered in the same area, right? Great, is putting this energy on top of itself, on top of itself, on top of itself. It's all on top of itself, all together, right? If there's more energy than there is mass, and the mass gathers on top, just crushing it, crushing it, crushing, crush it, crush, 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 the mass will outdo the energy. At that point, the energy